Hey everyone, happy Good Friday. We made it through yet another week. The road stops here in Las Vegas as we are on the eve of WrestleMania 41, coming to you live from Allegiant Stadium, Saturday, April 19th and Sunday, April 20th. I'm Brian Nemeth, here host of Over and Buried podcast, where you simply go over or you get buried. I wanted to bring you another episode today where I wanted to discuss, if I had the pencil, how I would have booked WrestleMania 41. As wrestling fans, we all know the card is subject to change. As wrestling fans, we all love to fantasy book. We love to spitball dream matches and things like that. So kind of wanted to give you a little bit of that flavor today. So let's get right into it with Saturday Night 1. First off, I would have kicked off Saturday night's WrestleMania with arguably two of the best women in the entire company and arguably in the entire industry. I would have had Rhea Ripley defend her Women's World Championship as champion against Bianca Belair, who won the Royal Rumble. Bianca has been out of the world title scene for quite some time now, doing her own thing, being in a tag team with Jade. So I think it's time to get Bianca back to the main event scene. Rhea has been such a dominant champion in the face of the women's division. She has done such an excellent job, and I think when it's all said and done, Rhea's going to be synonymous with the Women's World Championship. So I do think that Bianca would continue her undefeated streak at WrestleMania. She is also one of the faces on the official Netflix images, so I think eventually, she would have gone to Raw eventually, and no better way than as champion. So I would have liked to see Bianca win the Royal Rumble and then go on and face Rhea Ripley and defeat her. I think that's a dream match for a lot of us, to see them go one-on-one, to see, who is the best woman in the entire company. I still would have liked to book AJ Styles and Logan Paul. AJ Styles arguably is one of the best in-ring competitors out of all of WWE and the industry as a whole. So I think he would be able to put over Logan in this case. I have been impressed with Logan Paul, especially after his match with Roman Reigns for the title some time ago. I think he has shown that he's not just a social media star, that he is fully committed to perfecting his craft. And I think his body of work has shown ever since then, and really speaks for itself. So we don't know how many WrestleManias AJ Styles has left in him. So I think that, this would be a great opportunity for the two of them to showcase their athleticism. And I think AJ would have no problem to put over Logan Paul here in a well-contested match. Next up, I would have booked a 6-pack ladder match for the United States Championship. That seems to be a common theme of WrestleMania, is that we typically do get some sort of multi-man ladder match. I would have had this as Shinsuke Nakamura still being the champion back at the time, defending against Kevin Owens, LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, Damian Priest, and Jimmy Uso. I know since then, Shinsuke has had some personal things that ultimately I believe he had to go back to Japan. Thus, he dropped a title to LA Knight, but had things, stayed the same, I would have booked it this way. And I do think that Carmelo Hayes really would have shined in this match. Probably have taken a couple nasty bumps, probably one off the ladder. But ultimately, I think it would have been Jimmy Uso to come out as the victor. I think Jimmy has needed to do something on his own, carve out his own path, especially now that Jay has been gone off doing his thing with Raw. Ever since he separated himself with the Bloodline, I think Jimmy has needed, something more to do to really progress his character. So, I always thought Jimmy was great on the mic. When I first started watching the Usos, I really thought that Jimmy was that mouthpiece for the duo. And I think he's more than capable of elevating his character. And we've seen that here more recently, just showing up, slapping Gunther in the face during that backstage segment, having the Crimson Mask falling victim to Gunther, that I really thought, that WWE would push Jimmy a little bit more here, and kind of showcase that he can do things on his own as well, and become a champion in his own right. So I thought, him being a U.S. champion would be a good step in that right direction, for him to showcase that. Next, I would have booked the World Tag Team Championship here, in a three-way tag team match between the War Raiders, the New Day, and actually the Hardy Boys. WWE has had a working relationship with TNA for quite some time now, and I wish that it would have gone beyond NXT, really, where the Hardys come back, they play the hits, elevate the other two in the ring. I really like the War Raiders. They are athletic, they're powerful. I wish they would push their characters a little bit more, because they are formidable, and they are imposing. And, with the New Day's heel turn, I think it would have been great to have the New Day actually pin the Hardys, or one of the Hardys, rather. If you remember back in one of the WrestleManias, the New Day actually teased them entering themselves into that multi-man tag match at WrestleMania, but ultimately it was the Hardys' return, which is dubbed one of the best WrestleMania returns that we've seen in history. So I think a heel New Day that wants to solidify themselves as being the best tag team in WWE history, even if it's at the expense of turning heel, leaving Big E behind, I think, that would have been a great booking decision, and having somebody in the ring like the Hardys to elevate them, who are decorated in their own right, I think the New Day would have propelled their heel turn forward. That right now it is a little bit stale, but I would like to see them and what they could do beyond just Big E, you're being left in the dust. So would have liked to see the New Day win the titles there. The next match on the card that I would have booked would be for the Women's United States Championship. Chelsea Green has made the most out of every opportunity that she's had, whether it's been a few seconds backstage or she's been in the ring. She has really solidified herself as really a top talent. People have gravitated towards her, and I think she's gotten herself over with any time that she's been given. So I think it was well earned that, she could have had a championship match against an established champion in the past, like a Bayley or an Alexa Bliss. I didn't know if Alexa Bliss was back for a one-time appearance with the Royal Rumble after having a baby, or if she was going to be, back full time. But Bayley, also had her run last year, winning the Royal Rumble last year, and eventually winning the world title at WrestleMania. But I feel that build with Bayley last year was soured on real quick. She lost tons of steam, but she's a multi-time world champion that I felt that if they had booked Chelsea to go against one of them and, put Chelsea over, that would further elevate Chelsea into that spot. Further, I thought, that Chelsea could have been more of a heel, turn the, United States Championship into, a Canadian Championship or something along those lines, and just further elevate her character. So thought that would have been a great idea. In his last WrestleMania appearance, I would have booked John Cena to face Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. Cena has not won a singles match in approximately 7 years. He's coming back 2025 for his retirement tour. So I think WWE really needed to build him up a little bit more, start from the ground up. I think it would have been cool to see Cena become a Grand Slam champion, or even just put over Braun, as really the future of WWE. I believe Braun is going to main event WrestleMania 42, or at least challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship, no doubt about it. That is my prediction for next year's WrestleMania, but would have liked to see Cena, the company guy of the past. He's been there for, 20 years putting over the company, to hand off the reins to a Braun Breaker who has put in the work and is only just begun his illustrious career that he will have. But would have liked to see WWE build Cena's momentum a little bit more towards the anticipation of him getting into the world title picture later on into 2025 in his pursuit of number 17 to become the most decorated WWE champion of all time. But either way, would have liked to see either John Cena become a Grand Slam champion, or even Braun Breaker, win and have Cena, embrace him and, give him his praise, pass the torch there in the ring to Braun in order to, propel towards the future. And finally, in the main event of Saturday night 1 of WrestleMania 41, I would have booked main event Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey being the winner of the Royal Rumble. I did like that more recently they have built him up and showed the raw emotion of Jey to tell Gunther to his face, "I'm not scared of you anymore, and I'm going to beat you." When they inject that raw emotion and feeling into it, it makes it more believable, it makes it more real. So I think the crowd getting behind that true emotion, and Jey going to the ring in all black more recently, not doing the yeet, not waving his hands, just for the pop from the crowd, shows that he is serious about things, which is what Gunther thought that he wasn't in the first place. That you're not a legitimate type of champion. You're not me. I'm the ring general. I've gotten all these accolades. I am, the true champion here. But I think Jey winning the title at the end would be a great moment for WWE that they can replay for years to come, and just have that shot at the end of night 1 to have Jey up on the turnbuckle, raising the title above his head. And then once, he comes down from the ropes to, have the camera pan to the middle of the ring to have Jimmy there with his United States Championship, a little beat up, obviously, from his match prior. But to have them both in the ring together, but as single stars that have shown firsthand that they have done it all on their own, so to have Jimmy put his title on his shoulder, clap, for his brother, they embrace in the middle of the ring, the confetti goes down, that they've officially made it on their own. I think that would have been a great ending to WrestleMania night 1. All right, so those are my Saturday predictions. Let's go to Sunday predictions here for WrestleMania 41. So I would have started this off with the triple threat match, but have, instead of Roman Reigns, I would have put Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk, where these are arguably 3 of the top guys within the industry right now. Seth Rollins is the workhorse. He's always done that for, the past decade. Drew McIntyre has shown ever since COVID that he is the quote-unquote chosen one. He never truly got that big WrestleMania moment, in my opinion. I think that was soured because of COVID that nobody could have predicted, since he eliminated Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble when he won. That was a pivotal moment for Drew, and we just never got that WrestleMania moment for Drew. But I'm not sure if we're ever really going to get that. That was lightning in a bottle at that point in time. But I think Drew would fit well in this triple threat match. And then CM Punk, you have a guy who hadn't been in WWE for 10 years, but people were chanting his name in arenas that he wasn't even in. The level of fandom that people have for him, the following that CM Punk has, this would be a standalone match on its own that, would be at the top of the card of any pay-per-view or PLE, any show. So, for these 3 to kick it off, to showcase that, that would have been, in my opinion, a pretty good booking decision. WrestleMania 40, we should have probably gotten as well Seth versus Punk for the world title. Obviously, that had changed, due to Punk's injury. And then we had, later on that year, we had Drew McIntyre and Punk that had probably one of the best feuds and rivalries in the year of 2024, if not, in recent memory. Just the two of them going back and forth, and just all of the animosity between the three of these guys in real life, too, to inject that emotion into this match, I think would have set it over the edge. This would be a mano-a-mano match, and I would have liked to see probably Punk to go over in this match to further his push towards the top, ultimately to the main event scene and challenge for the world title at some point in 2025. Because again, Punk is still recent back to the company. So we have a lot of matches that we could play with here, to have Punk line up with a number of these guys. So would have liked to see Punk go over in that match. Next up, I would have booked the Women's Intercontinental title match here with Lyra Valkyria as the champion defending against Io Sky. If you do remember, the inaugural champion was crowned where Lyra faced Dakota Kai, so I would have liked to see that damage control angle developed a little bit more. And to have Io Sky paired up against her, where Io is an established champion in her own right in her tenure with WWE. So I would have liked to see Lyra be elevated there in terms of in-ring. She is, super sound. She has all the tools. She grapples well. I think she does high spots well. Her entrance is sick. I would like for them to develop her character a little bit more, that kind of Raven type of persona, that Valkyrie type of persona, and give her kind of that alter ego personality, kind of like a Finn Balor demon character, to, give her white contacts to come out to the ring, that when she is in these big matches, she just becomes a different person. I don't want her to fall into that same path that they did with Finn Balor of, being the smiley person that comes to the ring, because it just gets stale real quick. And I would like to see them elevate Lyra more. Following up from that, would have booked Liv Morgan with Dominic Mysterio at her corner versus Jade Cargill. Liv has risen up the ranks of the WWE women's division for the last year. She is the top of the card. She has really earned her spot, becoming champion. And I think, she's been in the title scene for so long that, maybe it is time for her to take a step back as well. And I think that they could have played up the angle a little bit more of, was it Liv and Raquel that put Jade on the shelf? So if they could have, done that a little bit more, played up that potentially Liv was the one that attacked her, but I would have liked to see them ultimately, have their match and then have it come out post WrestleMania that Bianca was actually the one behind Jade getting injured, because, Bianca and Jade, they're both, very athletic. They're both, physical specimens that, they would have a great match together, and only one can be at the top. So, I think it would have played out that Bianca could have been the one to want to take Jade out, so that Bianca could stay on top and not have any formidable opponents. But I think this would have been a good match for Jade versus Liv, who really has established herself at the top. Jade, I know she's had limited reps in the ring, but just her presence, she is a spectacle. So, I think this would have started the massive push for Jade, that over time she would have challenged Bianca then for the world championship. So would have liked to see Jade, versus Liv in this, where Jade gets the victory. Dom tried to interfere, but ultimately, it doesn't show well for Liv. So would have liked to see Jade get that victory. Next on the card, would have liked to see the WWE Tag Team Championship, where the champions were Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, where the Bloodline 2.0 still going strong, versus the Street Profits. The Street Profits, so glad that they have captured the titles. They have earned their spot. I can't believe it's been, 4 or 5 years since they actually won the titles. But I think they've put in the work. But I would have liked to see these two teams go at it. Eventually, it would have played out where the Bloodline capture the titles. But for WrestleMania, I would have built up the Street Profits to have them go over to start that dissension between Solo and Jacob, that eventually we could have had them, maybe SummerSlam or whatnot, to have the two of them, finally have that one-on-one match. So would have liked to see the Street Profits go over here against the Bloodline. I think we were all wanting this match. Was a dream match for a lot of us to have Tiffany Stratton as the WWE Women's Champion versus Charlotte Flair, but I would have actually flipped it here. I would have had Charlotte Flair come back as a babyface, because as a number of fans, they think that Charlotte comes back, she's thrust into the main event scene, she's automatically going to challenge for a title because she's a Flair, she's entitled, she's better than everyone. But I would have liked to see WWE again have her start from the bottom, and work her way up. Maybe show her, backstory of, the trials and tribulations for her to come back to WWE, to get back into the ring. Do I still have it anymore? But I would like to see Charlotte come back as a babyface. I do remember, I believe it was last year, I went to a house show in Allentown, Pennsylvania at the PPL Center, where Charlotte, she was greeting all of the fans. She was hugging all the kids, signing posters, I believe. And, she got a big pop from that. So I think that if she could have been cast as that sort of persona on screen, I think more fans would have gotten behind her. She's kind of like the Roman Reigns of the 2010s, where she is the woman, or she is the guy, and WWE wants to push said person, but for some reason the fans just aren't backing it. And I think maybe just some sort of change in Charlotte's character could have brought her that. And I don't believe it would have hurt Tiffany either. If you do recall, most of Tiffany's run has been her as a heel, where people still, put her over. People still gravitated towards her. If you do recall, during Tiffany's Elimination Chamber appearance, she outshined everyone. So I think just the two of them going back and forth in an athletic match for the Women's Championship would have been a spectacle. And it will be, this weekend. But I would have probably had Charlotte go over here, and then have Tiffany, chase as well. As the co-main event, I next would have booked Cody Rhodes as the champion for the undisputed WWE Championship against his mentor, Randy Orton. They have history going back, over a decade ago with the legacy. Two guys coming from wrestling families. I would have booked Randy to be the one to turn on his pupil, bring back that legend killer, bring back the '09 Orton that, punts people in the face, puts people in the hospital. So would really loved to see that happen for this WrestleMania. And I think the heel turn would have been quote unquote justified in Randy's eyes, because, if he looks back in hindsight, he risked life and limb, battled through injuries to help Cody get ahead and, ultimately have Cody win the title at WrestleMania 40. So, if you keep looking at, the footage from, the past year or 2 years, you've still seen, Randy look at Cody differently or look at the title. So there was little bits and pieces there that eventually I think we're going to get this, but would have liked to see this here at WrestleMania, but would have liked to see Randy Orton win the chamber, challenge Cody. Ultimately, Cody were to retain, where in this instance, the student becomes the teacher. And now at this point in time, I know the crowd would be pretty well exhausted. So I would have liked to had them break for a quick moment to have Triple H come out for his Hall of Fame, acknowledge him for all of his accomplishments individually, and then get into the main event for Sunday Night 2 to finally get The Rock versus Roman Reigns to have the ultimate high chief of the bloodline match. This is a match that has been teased for much of the last 3 to 4 years now. We had The Rock come back for his one appearance, I believe it was for day one, come back and give the promo, hey, should I sit at the bar or should I sit at the head of the table, which turned heads, which opened people's eyes, mine especially here too, that, we were just longing for this match. I hope eventually we're going to get it, but, that planted the seed there. And The Rock was even going on ESPN's College Game Day, basically alluding to the fact that behind the scenes, this match was a done deal. We had it all lined up, but, some things fell through. He also stated that, he wanted to do things, for this match only if something had never been done before. They could kind of rewrite WWE history. And then we were getting teased with it again last year. Even though Cody won the Royal Rumble, he passed the WrestleMania main event to The Rock, and then all of a sudden he inserted himself back into the main event. So didn't like that storytelling aspect there. Still leaves a question in my mind of why they did that. But we all can dream. I want to see The Rock versus Roman Reigns at some point in time. And I feel that this would be kind of homage to WrestleMania 18, where it wasn't a title match at the end there for the main event, the Rock Hogan-esque ending, where it was just two guys looking face to face, again, mano y mano type of match. But I think this would have been a great moment for Roman to shine and really have a crowning victory that would put Roman up as more of the top baby face in the company that they were trying to push for over a decade when he was the big dog. He is by himself. He is without a title. He's not with anyone. He's not with a faction. There's no Shield backing him. There's no bloodline backing him. So for him to go over against The Rock in a one-on-one match to prove that he is the high chief, the tribal chief, whatever you want to call it, have the Ula Fala, I thought that would have been a great opportunity there for WWE. And it would make sense, to keep pushing Roman towards that babyface persona, especially since he had lost the title to Cody the year prior. And Cody, had stated in their back and forth, in the previous year or two, in their WrestleMania main events that, Roman, you're going to be, without a title, you're going to be a chief with no tribe. So I would have liked WWE to tell that story more of, Jimmy's gone, Jay's gone, they're off doing their own thing. That it's now up to Roman to do things for himself. Especially after, his, 1,300 days as champion, a lot of title defenses, there was interference. So to have Roman emerge as, that babyface, that true competitor against what some people have on their Mount Rushmore, with The Rock would further cement Roman Reigns' legacy, give him another main event at WrestleMania. And I think that, this would be something that we would talk about for another, 25, 50 years. But yeah, that is how I would have booked night 2 of WrestleMania. So there you have it. If I was given the pencil, months ago, that's how I would have built up and booked WrestleMania 41 here in Las Vegas. Obviously, my predictions were not, how the card turned out to be. But so excited for WrestleMania 41 here tomorrow and Sunday. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for the house.